This is the Meat and Potato Sports Show. So thanks for listening. This is the third episode of the show now. As you probably know by now, essentially the format of the show is a weekly format where we will recap the best sports stories of the week and keep you up to date on the sports world. So for example, today we will cover topics that occurred the week of February 26, 2018. So we got a lot to cover today. Let's get right into it. So the big topic of this week is NCAA scandals. Oh my God, so scandalous. We're just covered in scandals from the NCAA. So there's tons of controversial scandals and what have you surrounding the NCAA this week. They just can't seem to escape it. It was constantly covered almost every day this week by every major outlet. And essentially what it comes down to is, if I had to boil it down into one sentence or phrase, it would be pay for play. Teams have been alleged to pay players, bribe players, expenses paid for, sometimes just straight up bribes, what have you. So before we jump into it, how about we cover the teams that are alleged to be involved in this? Can we get that pulled up? Okay, thanks. So we got Duke, North Carolina, NC State, University of Texas, Hokum Horns, for those of you who may not know who that is, Kentucky, Alabama, roll with the tide, Michigan State, and USC. So those are the notable teams implicated, and that's per Yahoo Sports. Credit where credit is due. There's obviously plenty of other schools implicated, but those are the major ones. I guess that is to say the ones you would care about, well, the ones we all would care about, including myself. And the president of the NCAA released an official statement on this entire situation, and it's, quote, "These allegations, if true, point to systematic failures that must be fixed, and fixed now if we want college sports in America. Simply put, people who engage in this kind of behavior have no place in college sports. They are an affront to all those who play by the rules." So now that we have the official statement from the president of the NCAA, I'd like to kind of break down and unpack most notable school by most notable school, kind of their rebuttal to these allegations and this scandal and what have you. And to do so, I'm going to rely on a very good report by CBSSports.com. So for this next segment, full credit goes to CBS Sports and the great work that they've done in this article. So let's start off with Duke. Again, this is all direct quotes from CBSSports.com until otherwise stated. Duke announced that the school looked into any issues with freshman Wendell Carter, who was named in the Yahoo Sports report, but found nothing wrong. Quote, "A Duke student-athlete was identified in a Yahoo Sports report this morning about men's college basketball. Duke immediately reviewed the matter and, based on the information, there are no eligibility issues related to today's report. Duke has already contacted the NCAA and will continue to work collaboratively with the NCAA and the Atlantic Coast Conference. Duke has an uncompromising commitment to compliance in athletics that has not and will not change." We're going to try to get through these as quickly as possible because there's quite a few. Moving on to the next, the very notable coach, John Calipari of Kentucky. Quote, "I have no relationship with Andy Miller or any of his associates. Neither my staff nor I utilized any agent, including Andy Miller or any of his associates, to provide any financial benefits to a current or former Kentucky student athlete. We will cooperate fully with the appropriate authorities." End quote. And then the next notable piece of information is the Kentucky athletic director Mitch Barnhart also said in a statement that the university is conducting an internal review. In a press conference on Friday, Calipari said Knox, who is accused of accepting an unspecified amount of benefits, but is named in the report, is expected to play on Saturday versus Missouri. And then Jerry Tipton sent out a tweet that said Knox will play versus Missouri. I believe so at this point. Moving on to the next school, you got Michigan State. Their coach Tom Izzo, who says, quote, "We are aware of the report in Yahoo Sports. While we cooperate with any and all investigations, we have no reason to believe that I, any member of our staff, or student athlete did anything in violation of NCAA rules." Next is Xavier coach Chris Mack, who released a statement to Yahoo Sports on Friday morning, and he said, quote, "I have no relationship with Andy Miller or any of his associates. He plays no role in the recruitment of potential student athletes on Xavier's behalf. Beyond that, our staff has never created a path for him to foster a relationship with any of our student athletes while enrolled at Xavier. Any suggestion that I or anyone on my staff utilized Andy Miller to provide even the slightest of financial benefits to an Xavier student athlete is grossly misinformed. We are prepared to cooperate with any and all investigations at any level." Close quotations. Next is USC, the University of Southern California, who released a tweet acknowledging the report, and they said, open quotations, "We just became aware of this new information through media sources, and we take these allegations very seriously. USC Athletics places the highest priority on athletic compliance, and as we have demonstrated, we do not tolerate violations of our policies or NCAA rules. We will fully cooperate with the NCAA and federal authorities as well as conduct our own investigation into these allegations." Lastly, there's Tennessee coach Rick Barnes. And Rick Barnes commented on Friday about two players he recruited at Texas who happened to be named in the report. Wes Rucker sent out a tweet which is, quote, #Vols Rick Barnes on two players he recruited at Texas being named in the Yahoo FBI story. I haven't read the report, but I was told those two guys were paid after we left for Tennessee in parentheses. That's all we know. And so to clarify, Wes Rucker is a reporter for, I believe, 27sports.com, I believe. Regardless, he's basically saying that Rick Barnes sent out a statement saying that he hasn't read the report, but was told the two guys mentioned in the report were paid after they left for Tennessee, and that's all he knows. Some people sent some tweets. I checked out his Twitter feed to coach Rick Barnes, and there were a few that were less than polite, shall we say. Now, I'm not going to read those on air. You can do that for yourselves, but very interesting stuff indeed. And to be fair, there are some opposing viewpoints on his feed as well. So, listen, at the end of the day, with a story like this, with so much up in the air, let's not be, shall we say, prisoners of the moment, where we commit to one side of the issue and kind of make up in our minds who's guilty and who's not, whether it be because you're a fan of a particular school or not. Because the truth of the matter is the facts aren't anywhere close to being out yet on this story. As far as I or many other people are concerned, well, as far as anyone should be concerned, this story it has its legs, and as time goes on, we'll get more of the facts on it. But until then, I don't think it's fair to be making judgments on anybody. So until that happens, let's try to keep an open mind and see where this unfolds. Now, naturally, as a result of the story, it sparked a huge debate in terms of college athletics and its structure, and whether these kids should be getting paid for their contribution to their respective schools and what have you. I'm not going to say where I stand on this because it's irrelevant, but it's interesting to see both sides and their arguments for their respective sides as to how it should be handled. to be quite frank, I don't see it changing anytime soon. How college athletics is handled, I see the structure that we have, where you go, if you're a superior athlete, you go to school, you get a scholarship, you get room and board paid. I see that sticking for definitely the foreseeable future, at least in my lifetime. I don't see it changing. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Wouldn't be the first time, But yeah, that's just my educated guess. Okay, so let's move on to the rest of the topics. Like I said, we got a jam-packed show for you today, and they're definitely more lighthearted than the latter. So we got Blake Bortles, who signs a 3-year extension with the Jacksonville Jaguars, aka Saxonville. So, like I said, 3-year contract, 54 million overall that period. So, yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on where you stand in terms of Blake Bortles. You either love him or you hate him. I'm sure if you're a Jacksonville fan, listen, it's good to have a quarterback. It's great to have a quarterback, obviously, and undoubtedly necessary in today's NFL. But is Bortles the guy that's going to do it for you? Is he the guy that's going to take you to the promised land of hoisting that beautiful Lombardi trophy? I guess that's what it really comes down to. If you're a fan of him, I'm sure you obviously say yes, and if you're not, you clearly say no. Well, I guess time will tell. It'll be interesting to see what kind of season he has next season after this one, where he was able to get them to the position he was able to. So we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. Moving on to the next story. Jerry Jones is going to be fined for, quote, actions detrimental to the league, close quotes. And this is all in regards to the Ezekiel Elliott fiasco that he dealt with, and Zeke dealt with last season in terms of the allegations and all the stuff he dealt with, meaning Zeke, all the stuff Zeke dealt with. So yeah, on the surface, it's made to seem that Goodell is the one charged, the one leading this charge, excuse me. But if you really unpack it and peel the layers like an onion, it's pretty clear that it's the other owners who are causing this ruckus and these issues and problems for Jerry Jones. So I'm sure Jerry Jones will fight it. Once again, we'll have to let it play out and see what happens. Knowing Jerry, he will fight it. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening with that. On to the next. Kansas City's cornerback Marcus Peters has been officially traded to the Los Angeles Rams. So they weren't happy with some of the problems and ruckus he was creating in that locker room, so they cut bait essentially and have gotten rid of him. A lot of Kansas City fans I've seen aren't happy with what they got in return. It's a draft pick is what they received in return. I believe it's a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, so nothing spectacular in return for Marcus Peters, which, if I was a Kansas City fan, I'd be pretty disappointed myself. And I tend to agree that they didn't get enough for him, but the LA Rams played it perfectly, and they essentially, I'm pretty sure, knew that the Chiefs were looking to get rid of him and cut bait, so they essentially perfected and personified what the art of the deal really is. So, hey, hats off to them. That's a great deal for them as far as I'm concerned, and almost everyone seems to agree. Next story is another trade story in the NFL. We got intel that the Seattle Seahawks are in talks and looking to trade Michael Bennett. So is this the beginning of the end for the Legion of Boom? Personally, I think there's a good chance that this signals that. is very likely and a very likely possibility. So yeah, they're looking to get rid of Michael Bennett. Is part of it because of how outspoken he is in the locker room and the potential distraction he may cause in that locker room and for that team. I tend to think so. I'll be honest, there's a lot of people who disagree, but I really don't see how. Just because, that's a very outspoken team, and when you're winning games, that's great, and it's great to be true to your true identity as a team and all that and what have you. But as soon as the wheels start to get wobbly and the wheels start to wobble off, I think it kind of magnifies the players who were extra outspoken and the problems that causes inherently. So yeah, I think as a result of some of that, they're looking to get rid of him. I'm sure there's other reasons, but I think that's definitely playing into that decision. So we'll have to see looking forward what happens with that. But they're definitely, without question, in talks to trade Michael Bennett, like I said. On to the next. We got some good news. Well, I take that back. Good news if you're a Patriots fan. We've got intel coming out that Gronk is expected to stay with the Patriots next season. So as for those of you who follow the NFL pretty closely, you've probably seen murmurs and talk that Gronk may very likely retire next season. There were murmurs that he may have even been looking into switching careers at this time and joining the wrestling world. WrestleMania or SmackDown or something of that sort. So, yeah, kind of funny. But either way, it's fairly locked in at this point that he will be a Patriot again next year. So, yeah, good news for Pats fans and really anyone who's a fan of football, because that Brady and Gronk combo is entertaining as all heck to watch. Let me tell you. Okay, so let's change gears here really quickly. Got quite a bit of Cleveland Cavaliers news here for you. Okay, well, let's start off with the negative first and then move into the more positive, shall we say. So, at the end of the 76er Cavaliers game, you had Jordan Clarkson, who chucked the ball at Dario Saric because he broke the unwritten rule of continuing to play after the game was essentially already won. And this is just one of those rules I've never quite understood in professional sports. We're talking Little League and the children's playground. I understand it. There's no need to hurt feelings any more than they've already been hurt after getting trounced. But when you're in a professional setting, I've never really understood that. How there's this unwritten rule where you're expected to stop playing after you've already won. Part of me understands it from the aspect of you don't want players getting injured and hurt and stuff like that. So, if they want to back off in terms of effort a little bit, I totally get that. But this unwritten rule where you're just not supposed to score at all, the last minute or half minute, whatever of a game, never have understood that. Apparently Jordan Clarkson does understand it, and he's a big fan of it because, like I said, he chucked the ball at the back of Dario Saric of the Philadelphia 76ers, and you can check out the clip for yourself. I'm sure it's all over online. You see Joel Embiid kind of step in, kind of like, whoa, hey, calm down. There's no need to let this get out of hand. Kenny kind of steps in between them and tries to defuse the situation, so more power to Joel Embiid. But, yeah, like I said, just something I've never understood. Let me know what you guys think. I'm curious. I would imagine people are pretty split on that topic. Because, like I said, I see the one side of it where it's like, you don't want players to get hurt and all that. But in terms of just it being a respecting and all that, I don't understand it because, you have consumers who paid for a product and they deserve to see it played all the way through, even if it is already decided. So I guess that's kind of my viewpoint on it for what it's worth. And then you also had a play this week where LeBron James, it was pretty crazy. Someone set a screen I believe it was Tristan Thompson, and LeBron James, the great handler that he is, did a behind the back maneuver, and when he did the behind the back and it bounced, it ended up going in between Tristan Thompson's legs. Now, radio can't do this any justice. You got to check this out for yourself. But to LeBron's credit, he kind of admitted that he didn't intentionally send it in between Tristan, or who I believe it was Tristan. So let's say it's Tristan's legs. He didn't intentionally do that. But man, did it end up being a spectacular 1 in a million play. I mean, it was just really, really beautiful to see it in instant replay in slow motion. I mean, just the sheer unlikelihood of it being able to be pulled off was pretty spectacular. And so, yeah, that was a sensational play that probably took the highlight of the week, if not the month. I mean, people were ranting and raving about it. LeBron did his typical cryptic tweet about it at the end of the game. So there was also that to enjoy. But yeah, it's funny because his tweet was essentially something to the effect of, haters will say it's fake, but I was just in my bag, meaning my bag of tricks. It was reversed. I was just in my bag, but haters will say it's fake or something like that. So yeah, I don't know, which is kind of funny because when he was interviewed about it, he essentially admitted it wasn't intentional. He didn't mean to do it. So I don't know what the point of that was, but nonetheless, it was a great play and a great way to kind of finish out the week, the weekdays basketball games. All right, so we're going to shift gears here back to one last negative story in terms of the Cavaliers. So I guess J.R. Smith was suspended by the team. It was a team issue. He was suspended for throwing, I kid you not, a bowl of soup at an assistant coach, an unnamed assistant coach. So he was suspended for that. And I don't know if he was just a huge Caddyshack fan and disgruntled that the assistant coach got a free bowl of soup with his hat, so he felt a need to hurl it at him. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But regardless, it happened, and he was suspended and punished accordingly, and that's really all we know about it. There's been speculation that it was a playful banter that got out of hand, and that's about all we have on that story. Anyone has on that story. So kind of interesting. Nothing crazy, but he did get punished and suspended for it. So, hey, sometimes things get out of hand. What can you do? And now shifting gears back to the positive 76er stories. So, Bronsexuals, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. That's right. Your boy, LeBron James, is the first to, as of this week, earn 30K points, 8K rebounds, 8K assists. And like I said, he's the first to hold that achievement. Very impressive achievement. I got to be honest, though, with his style of play and how spectacular he is, not surprised that he's made this amazing achievement. Because he's not an all-out scorer. He's one of the best passers of the basketball. He's also not afraid to rack up boards. So yeah, I mean, really, really, really great stuff, but not surprising if I'm being honest. But good for him. It's a great achievement that he can add under his belt for his Mount Rushmore debate. I don't know what else to say on it. It's great for the game of basketball and great for his legacy. And on top of that, he also averaged a triple-double in February, which is pretty cool. And I believe I heard that it's the first time that he's done so, which was surprising, that he's averaged a triple-double in a month, which was surprising to me. Because it kind of contradicts how he was the first to get that stat I just mentioned, or that achievement I just mentioned, and then at the same time he hasn't averaged a triple-double over a month before, I heard, and I believe it's correct. So kind of conflicting information and stats that's really, really fascinating to me. It's nothing against him. It's just I was surprised to learn that, as I'm sure many of you will be. All right. Kind of getting towards the end of the show here. So, okay. I'm thinking of a particular play in the 2014 season of the NFL. This particular play happened to be a catch. This particular play happened to have a very controversial ruling. Catch or no catch. To be or not to be. Well, it was not to be. That's right. I'm talking about the Dez Bryant 2014 catch in the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers. Now, if you're a Green Bay fan, this was a moment of pure glee and rejoice. If you are or were a Cowboys fan, that was a tough moment. I'm just going to come out on the record. I'm a Cowboys fan. That was very tough. That's right. Bring it on. I know. Send me your letters of hate. No, but seriously, that was a very, very tough moment. So why do I bring that up, you ask? Well, I bring that up because it's been placed on the record that should have been ruled a catch. That's right. Cheeseheads, eat your hearts out. It should have been ruled a catch. To be honest, I don't know why they're dredging up these old painful wounds for us Cowboys fans. It's the exact definition of rubbing salt in a wound, but nonetheless, it should have been ruled a catch. The NFL Competition Committee has officially acknowledged that. The New York Football Giants owner John Mara is on the record talking to ESPN saying that there's no question Bryant's no catch ruling in that particular 2014 NFC Championship playoff loss for the Cowboys will be ruled a catch in the future, which is something that I hope we can all agree on. Cowboys fan, Packers fans, any fan of any team, I really hope we can agree that should have been a catch, because if not, I don't know. Well, I mean, this whole time we don't know what a catch is, really. Now, I'm being somewhat facetious. We know that the rules are officially laid out, but this rule has been so botched by so many officials in so many games over the past couple years that it's hard to keep up with it. I gotta be honest, I'm really not a huge adversary of the ruling that's on the books officially, as so many people are. I'm more an adversary of how that rule and standard has been applied. It's been appalling, and I'm fairly certain that's something that we all agree on without question. To the NFL's credit, that is something that they have been on the record saying they're going to be spending a lot of time on in the offseason, looking into and coming up with hopefully a better rule or a better idea of how to apply the catch rule. So we'll have to see going forward how it's applied, if there's a rule, if there's an official rule change, or if the referees will just be instructed on how to apply the already existing rule fairly and evenly across the board in every situation. And it's especially important that they get this rule and ruling right, simply for the fact that the NFL has become such a passing-centric league that's so centered around the passing game that to have a catch rule that's not evenly applied in every situation is simply disastrous, as we witnessed quite a few times this past recent season, and arguably even kind of leaked into the Super Bowl game, as quite a few people argued with a couple of those Philadelphia catches that people were watching thinking, okay, we've seen it. We've seen this happen many times this season. At least one of those isn't a catch. I'm talking about the one where the running back caught it in the back of the end zone. They're like, okay, this definitely will be ruled not a catch. The Zach Ertz one, I kind of understood because he did take a couple steps. So okay, well we'll give you that one. But the other one where the running back was running in the back of the end zone with arguably not complete possession of the football, as he exited the back of the end zone, would have been ruled not a catch in many instances, as we witnessed ourselves. So definitely something they got to get right. And like I said, at least they're aware of that and will hopefully do so. And now, moving on to the final story of the show. Remember that guy? His name was Tiger something. Oh yeah, Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is back, baby. Or is he? I don't know. Time will tell. But that aside, Tiger finished 12th at the Honda Classic this week, which pretty remarkable. Now, to be fair, strength of field wasn't the hardest, but regardless, you finished 12th in any PGA contest. That is something to be proud of. So we'll have to see looking forward what Tiger's game is like. If this was an outlier, I hope not, because I'm pretty sure we can all agree Tiger's great for the game, great for ratings, just great all around for the game of golf. Tiger was interviewed after the tournament and said that his back was great after the weekend, didn't have any significant pain or really any pain worth mentioning. So that's a great sign, for Tiger, looking towards the future with, you got the Masters coming up really fairly soon and just other tournaments that I know he's scheduled to play in as well. So hopefully he can keep that back in check and he can continue playing like this, because we all love us some Tiger. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. He looked pretty solid, to be completely honest, in all aspects of his game. His driving accuracy, could maybe be slightly improved, but that was always the case with Tiger. The driving accuracy was never his strength. In terms of the driver itself, length was always his strongest attribute. But when he drives it accurately, that's when he's most dangerous. So if he can get that 100% locked down, he will be a force to be reckoned with, just like the old days. Iron play, pretty solid. Putting, I'm pretty sure he was pleased with. So, and his short game in general, chipping, pitching, putting, pretty solid stuff. So if he can just keep that driver under wraps and in the fairway in the short grass, he's looking to mount a comeback, in my opinion, to the game in general. So that'll definitely be something to keep your eyes locked in on in the near future here. So, all right, that about does it for today's show. Thanks for listening. Check back in a week for the next one. We'll have a good one for you, as always. Please subscribe to the channel, give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and most importantly, let us know in the comments what particular stories you'd like to see covered that occur in the next week, so we can include them in next week's show. Thanks again for the support and for listening. It is an honor to be your host. EB signing off.